Thank you, Madam President. Okay, so I know that when we talk about these appropriation bills and money that come into our state, when we're discussing the money end of it, we're often told that it's simply a discussion on the money, that discussion on policy doesn't really have a place. But I would just like to submit to you that money often drives policy, and I believe that's what we're seeing here today. So I'd like to focus a little bit on the policy that is being driven by a $6 million federal grant. This is $6 million in federal debt. This is money that we will pay back, our grandchildren will pay back, and possibly into perpetuity. We are the government. The government is not some benevolent overseer of the people that has a mind and a driving force of its own with its own income. That's our money, and we're paying it back. So I often wonder how this state can claim to operate on a balanced budget when we fill our accounts with billions, not millions of dollars of debt. These are not tax dollars that come back into our state. This is debt that for generations our children and grandchildren will work to satisfy if that ever happens. To look at our children and our grandchildren and even ourselves and say that this is tax money coming back into our state, and if we don't get it, it will just go to someone else, would be like looking at a drug user and telling him if he didn't get those drugs from his pusher, the pusher will just sell them to someone else. It makes absolutely no sense. Idaho already provides a volunteer program. It's called the Head Start program. I often go to read to the children in the Head Start program that's closest to where I live. Head Start has published a report that by their own research tells us that Head Start children as a rule perform slightly, but not significantly better on achievement tests than their non-Head Start peers up to the 3rd grade. Then there was no difference in achievement scores tests from the 3rd grade to the 6th grade. Research shows that children in Head Start are falling behind and often are not ready for school. These words are from their study, Strengthening Head Start, What the Evidence Shows. Government does not have the answer. So the money. $1.382 million go to existing providers. $1,849,000 will go to new programs. $2,480,000 go to oversight and regulation. Studying the flow of this funding, it does not take long to see that this is a very large agency-heavy system where the government will also be collecting data on our citizens from crib to 5 years old. Recent evidence involving another Idaho agency would lead us to believe that we must be very careful and to know exactly where our data is going and what it would be used for. The acceptance of this grant will codify involvement of the Idaho Department of Education into the lives of children from birth to 5 years old, at a time in their age when families and association with close family members should be most important. Beginning at this young age, a program like this is grooming our future adults to just accept that the government will have a major role in providing for them in their lives. The Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children claim they do not follow the agenda of the National Association of the Education of Young Children. But a 2019 conference webpage recommended that the teachers read the article, Moving Beyond Bias Practices. The NAC's flagship book quotes Carol Bunsen Day, saying, "White children definitely need anti-bias education. So do children of color, although the specific work differs from that of white children." My question is why? May I read a couple of pages from one of the recommended books?
Which, Senator Zito, if you would,
The
title.
Collectivism.
Having properly identified the source, the senator may read.
Now, as I read this, I would like you to keep in mind these are books that I'm being told are recommended from birth to 5 years old. E, equal rights, black, brown, or white, clean and healthy is a right. Every place we live and play, environmental justice is the way. S is for sun, soul, solar, superstar, stellar power, fuels all life, not just flowers. energized homes, cars, and showers. Silly, selfish scoundrels sucking on dinosaur sludge. Boo, hiss. U is for weekends. U is for workers' rights. Wait, that's not a U, that's a double U. U is for union. Yes, union. T is for trans. For trains, tiaras, tulips, tractors, and tigers too. Trust in the true. The he, she, they, that is you. Remember, birth to 5 years old. The Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children is using a $6 million federal grant to move the idea that we are born with an inherent bias, simply because of the color of our skin. This is not supposition, it is clearly outlined on their website, some of which was removed when a vote on a similar bill was made. Many of those serving in this body have predecessors who were victims of violence not so long ago. They were driven from beautiful cities in this country that they built on swampland that no one wanted. They created centers of commerce and industry. Men, women, and children were slaughtered. They were driven in the brutal cold months of winter from their beautiful homes to seek refuge, leaving tracks of blood in the snow, the majority of them white. In my own family, my grandmother would tell stories of hiding in a hole under the house, hearing the hoofbeats of the Turkish camels as the soldiers raided the cities, taking the children captive. I grew up in the fields, working beside children of all colors. My children grew up in the fields, working beside children of all colors. And in our community, they all grow up together. There's never a problem until someone starts to point out the difference. A visit to Trellis, Idaho will show the history of Chinese and Irish workers who were treated in some of the most violent ways. My point is that every culture has some dark history. We learn that. We learn our past. We grow, we expand our knowledge, and hopefully we will appreciate where our people and where our country have been and where we are now. And we learn from those mistakes and strive to make it better. Parents I speak with from backgrounds of all areas do not want their children being indoctrinated with the idea that you are inherently racist simply because of the color of your skin, or that they have something to apologize for or feel shame about from the moment they were born because of actions taken in previous generations. As long as we teach that we are inherently racist, racism will continue. The divide will continue. When we speak of unity, when we teach and lead by example that we are all one race, the human race, we will be just that, one race of many beautiful colors, sizes, and shapes in history, all created perfectly in the image of God. Let the legacy of the Idaho legislature be that we are a strong, independent state that will not encumber our future citizens with federal debt that we have added to by the billions, that we are Idahoans not divided by anything, but united, strengthened, and edified by our differences. We will be an example to others in this great country, a country that until the last couple of years was known to be the land of freedom and opportunity, of cherishing the diversity of those who came from every country around the world to live united in freedom and liberty. These are the values that I wish to preserve and pass on. I ask you to vote no on S 1193. Thank you, Madam President.